So my view on boundaries, sadly, because this is just me personally, the word boundaries for me had become a bad word after a while, especially through this journey. It's just I think it's more of the association with it that I need to. Why do I want boundaries? And often it was that I need boundaries because I want to lose weight, and my boundaries would change. They would get either in one season they'd be really strict, and another season they'd be loose. They'd change all the time. And when I hear boundaries in my head now, I would hear weight loss. That's my goal. Boundaries so that I can have weight loss, and then boundaries over my soul and my body and my flesh in order to lose weight. And as much as it was wrapped up in Christ, I never felt that it was fully being led of the Spirit. No matter how much I sugarcoated it, it just became a list of boundaries I'd heard from the world, and that is what I put in place. Now, if somebody's coming into that and then they haven't had that history, then that's different. But for me, that's what it was. And the boundaries became not one or two, they became 10, they became 11, they became a mixture of lots of different conflicting boundaries that created even more confusion, like keeping points and counting calories and being low carb and not eating after 7. And it just became all of these different things, and it was like being locked in a prison. And that isn't freedom. I don't think that's freedom. But I also don't think freedom is binge eating. I don't think freedom is purging. I don't think freedom is throwing caution to the wind and just eating and drinking whatever I want because no one can tell me what to do, right? God doesn't care about that. I don't think that's freedom either. So yeah, having balance in those things, like we just used the examples with stepping on scales, that balance. And so I think that's important. So what am I saying about boundaries is that it depends on where you are in the journey and your reason for boundaries. So if your boundaries are there, you have boundaries, whatever they are, with your time, with your money, with your home, right? We have maybe we can come up with a different word, principles, that I'm going to live by for the rest of my life. So we can have that in all areas of our life, but it has to be drawn from the Spirit and not with our own an unrenewed mind's will, if that makes sense. So if you are still struggling with foods, if you're still struggling with I've got to lose weight, but just you personally, I've got to lose weight, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to reach these health markers or whatever, and if you're now in a state of panic and from that place try to create boundaries, I don't think that's going to work long term, and I don't think that's healthy. But doing it from a place of rest and being still is something else. So if you have bombarded, which we're going to talk about today, all of these food rules and all of these different things going on in your mind, it's going to clog up being able to truly be led by the Spirit. And that's my firm belief, that's why it doesn't work. I've seen time and time again that when we restrict for wrong reasons, with wrong motives, again, if you remember the rubber band theory that I shared with you a long while ago, and I see it every single time. Everyone I coach who's going through this, or people I meet, they say, yeah, but Sophia, I've got to cut this back. And I say, okay, I don't stop anybody. But what happens later on is then the pattern is they have restricted and restricted and restricted and restricted. Once someone brings the food to them as a gift, or they're in a scenario that's unusual from their daily routine, they go crazy, making themselves sick even, because they have told themselves, I mustn't, even if it breaks relationships and friendships. And I don't think that is healthy at all.